All right, that looks clear then. So for anybody who is for some reason watching this after the fact, I mean exactly what I say. There is nothing about the election in this stream. This is just complete old school, regular, chill nonsense. So if you came thinking that you would actually hear anything, then just go ahead and click away because you won't. We are going to do some geography quiz stuff like the old days, maybe play some minesweeper, maybe talk about how, at least according to the comments on my solar power video, people really don't understand listening and or reading comprehension. Especially the whole thing where like literally say at the start of the video, this is what the video is about. And then, people come on after that and in the comments will say something like, why didn't you talk about XYZ? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I literally said in the first 5 seconds that the video was about ABC, not about XYZ. Uh, what am I? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're not even doing anything. I don't need to get Google Earth and Twitter up this time. Let's see if Cetera is cooperative. So it's been quite a few months since I've used it, and it was getting really iffy last time with randomly just stopping the game and throwing like ads in your face with like maxed out volume. And so we'll go in, do the whole world, and I'll wait to see if anybody starts saying anything. I will try to check frequently and I'll respond to stuff, but know that if you do actually say anything, any political slogans or the acronyms of political slogans, or if you mention the election in any way, you might get a one-time warning. In all likelihood, you're probably just going to get instantly banned. I only do perma bans. Member states, I think that's the one we usually do. What the? I didn't ask you to talk. This is really small. This is incredibly small. This is horrible. Okay, we'll work with it. Oh man, it's slow too. Give me extra soft. For you, get rid of you. That should speed it up. Haiti, come down here. Benin, make sure I get it right. That one. Greece, Hellas, Laos, Deutschland, Uzbekistan, Tuvalu. Okay. It's not those. Stop going up and down without me scrolling. Okay. Uh, that's Fiji. That's Tonga. That is Samoa. That should be Nauru. And stop doing that. This should be Tuvalu. Yes. Okay. I'm getting a bit rusty at the Pacific Island states. That's a warning sign. Nepal, Azerbaijan, Afghanistan, everybody's favorite place to visit. Congo, Monaco. Stop. You did that right as I was about to click. Monaco, Central African Republic, Eswatini or Swaziland, Mauritania, Cambodia, Ethiopia is going to fragment into like 5 pieces over the next decade or two. Stop doing that. What is this? Kyrgyzstan, Maldives is this one. It's the closer one to India. Vanuatu is the one down here. Senegal, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Iraq. Slovensko is here. Fiji, as I said, is this one. New Zealand. Wow, even this like quiz thing cuts New Zealand off the map. Kuwait, Syria, Armenia, Qatar. Oh, make sure I don't accidentally click on Bahrain. There we go. Belize, if I can manage to get it. There we go. Iran, Chesco, Israel. Make sure it's really thin. Okay. Malaysia, one of my favorites. Papua New Guinea, Ukraine, Philippines, South Sudan, Madagascar, Latvia, Honduras, for here, Russia, Cyprus, Tajikistan, Lesotho in there, Mexico, Togo is right next to Benin, Samoa, uh, should be that one, yes, South Korea, Ecuador, Antigua and Barbuda, is, ooh, I might be slipping on the Caribbeans. Is this one or this one? From Barbuda. Ooh. Uh, nope. Okay. Pakistan. Autonomy and Principe is an island nation right there. Maroc. Tunisia. Nauru should be this one. Dominica is the island nation in between those two French territories there. Libya, the UK, Indonesia, or Nusantara. St. Kitts and Nevis is that one. Guinea has more bauxite or aluminum ore than any place else in the world. The US, the UAE, Brunei is a tiny little nation, practically a city-state right there. Paraguay, Chad, Giga Chad, Rwanda, Bhutan, Mongolia, España, Luxembourg. Make sure I get the dot. There we go. Gambia, Romania, Myanmar is going to also fragment into multiple pieces. Sumi, Jungur, Lebanon. Make sure you get the dot. There we go. Norge, Bahrain, Portugal, Cote d'Ivoire. Shqipëri is Albania's name. Guinea-Bissau. Palau is the one farthest over here. Anybody saying anything I need to respond to? No. Oman, because everybody is probably actually on the Google US election results page just constantly hitting refresh as if that's somehow going to like change the outcome. Tanzania, Micronesia should be this one. Yes. Okay. Polska, Chile. Stop doing that. Mizrim, Sri Lanka, Österreich, Jamaica, that one, obviously, Botswana, Liberia, Singapore, city-state, Burundi, just underneath Rwanda, Iceland, Argentina, Uganda, St. Vincent and Grenadines, I believe it's, ooh, is it, that's Barbados, that's Trinidad and Tobago, is that Grenada? Then that would be St. Vincent and Grenadines? Yes, okay. Ireland, Guyana, Tonga, like I said, is that one. Haiti, Nigeria, Djibouti, right there. Gabon, South Africa, Zambia, Serige, Canada, Angola, Serbia, there, Turkey. Seychelles is this island state over there. Bahamas, right off of Florida. Cameroon. Croatia. Oh, how do you say that? Croatia's real name. Hrvatska. See, it's the like HVR, all back to back to back at the front. Mauritius is an island nation here. Barbados is the one off to the east, like I said. Jordan, Slovenia, it's right there. Swiss is right there. Somalia, excuse me, click please, thank you. Peru, who grows the best blueberries. Only Peruvian blueberries are acceptable. Saudi, Bolivia just went under a fertility rate of 2.1. They've dropped down to, I think they said a flat 2, or they might be literally like right at 2.1. They were, I think, one of the last ones in all of the Western Hemisphere that was still above replacement rate. The only other one now that is still above replacement rate, I think, is Suriname, right there, the one that's next to Guyana. Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Africa's version of North Korea, basically. Malawi, Cuba, Andorra, microstate right there. Denmark, Sakartvelo, Guatemala. Liechtenstein is literally, truly a microstate right there in the tops of the mountains between Switzerland and Austria, or Swiss and Österreich. Yemen, Nicaragua, Thailand, Costa Rica, Malta, islands nation right there, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Grenada, should be that one, yes, Belgique, sorry, Comoros, Vietnam, Nederland, India, or Baharat, Cabo Verde, Venezuela. Kiribati is the long one, spanning a huge length of place. Macedonia, a country with a blasphemous name. Literally name your country the savior, despite, being like a mostly Christian nation. That's kind of, blasphemy. Zimbabwe, Magyarország, or Magyarország, excuse me, the point was on Slovakia. There we go. Australia, Brazil, Belarus. We got confirmation. Belarus, uh, even if the data for the second half of this year is like better, they're still dropping under a fertility rate of 1. Come the end of the year, once the data for this year is finalized in the early part of next year. So they will be country number 9 on the list, I think, who have gone below a fertility rate of 1. So then the question just becomes, who will follow them down as number 10? One of the most likely candidates at the moment looks to be Costa Rica, but we will see. Bosnia and Herzegovina, Marshall Islands are up there. Namibia, Sierra Leone, Lietuva, Bulgaria, Burkina Faso, Mali, the big Congo. St. Lucia is the one right there. Italia, Algeria, or Algeciras, Montenegro, San Marino, France, Uruguay, Moldova up there, Suriname, the last one, I think, in all the Western Hemisphere with a above 2.1 fertility rate as of the most recent data, not the like immediate Google result data, which will be stop doing that stuff from like 2022 or whatever. Solomon Islands are these ones here. Niger, Timor-Leste, Ghana, Panama, Mozambique, Nihon, North Korea, Bangladesh, Kenya, Trinidad and Tobago. Oh, that was it. Nothing I need to. Well, no one's here, anyways. All right. While there's nobody here and no one requiring me to actually answer anything, we're going to continue. Uh, Not the past. Want the regular one. There we go. There's the regular one. Okay, South Carolina. That's where I am stranded at the moment and have been for quite a while. Hawaii is not that small, just like my state. Alaska is not that small. Alaska is 2.5 times the size of Texas. So just uh, visualize that on the map yourself. Hawaii is about twice as large as it's being displayed right here. Will you stop doing that? Wyoming, also get these ads out of my face. Utah, also known as Mormon land. New York, Arizona, Florida, Vermont, New Jersey, Michigan, Illinois, Texas, North Carolina, Connecticut, Iowa, also known as corn, Oklahoma, Oregon, Arkansas, Indiana, Kansas, Montana, Louisiana, home, Alaska, Colorado. Why are you doing this so much? Maryland, New Hampshire, California, New Mexico, Idaho, Alabama, Mississippi, Rhode Island, right there, Washington, South Dakota, Georgia, Massachusetts, that's where I grew up, Maine, Wisconsin, Delaware, Nebraska, North Dakota, also known as Nukes, Nevada, Kentucky, also known as coal, Missouri, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Minnesota, Virginia, West Virginia, literally just a giant pile of coal that's buried under some mountains and forest, and Ohio. Like, who else do I still know definitively for North America? Canada, definitely, obviously. Newfoundland and Labrador, Quebec, Nunavut, Saskatchewan, Prince Edward Islands. No one really cares, but Northwest Territories, Ontario. Hello? Are you going to click? Oh, wait, we have to get the ads off first. That's what slows it down. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, the best. Alberta, Manitoba, British Columbia, Yukon. That's it. And I should still know most of the Mexican states. We'll see. Get off my screen. Stop slowing me down. Chiapas, Baja California Sur, Campeche, should be that one. Quintana Roo, Colima, should be that one. Okay, let's see. Querétaro, ooh, that's Aguascalientes. Querétaro is the west one or the east one. I think that's Guanajuato and that's Querétaro. Yes, okay. Uh, Chihuahua, that's Sonora, that's Chihuahua. Oaxaca is that one. Veracruz is that one. Nayarit, Tamaulipas is over here. Morelos is, let's see, Mexico City. That's Hidalgo up there, I think. Pueblas, Morelos. Ooh, it's one of those. Oh no, sorry, that's the state of Mexico. Uh, Morelos. Okay, there we go. Guerrero. Pue- Will you stop it? Puebla. This is as bad as Google Earth. Puebla, Zacatecas, Coahuila, Aguascalientes, Baja California. That's where my friend lives. Mexico City. Tlaxcala is uh, ooh, that's Mexico State. That should be Tlaxcala. Okay, Yucatan, Tabasco, Sinaloa, the cartel's favorite state, Nuevo Leon, Mexico State, Durango, uh, Nayarit, Jalisco, and this one is Michoacan. That's Jalisco. San Luis Potosi is this one. Hidalgo is that one. Guanajuato and Sonora. So one mess up, not too bad. Not as bad as I feared I might end up seeing. Let's see. Uh, Nobody, anyways. But who am I the most confident? I remember probably Brazil, but I'm probably going to mess a fair amount of them up. Let's see. Let's see. That is Sergipe Yes. Oh, forgot. Click these off. Amazonas. Amapa. Nope, that's Roraima, so that's Amapa. Piauí. That's Tocantins, Maranhão, Piauí, Sergipe, Maranhão, Para, Ceará, Roraima, Acre, Sao Paulo is here, Rio Grande Norte, Rio Grande Sul, Tocantins, Alagoas, Paraná is there, Mato Grosso do Sul, Rio de Janeiro, Espírito Santo, Goiás, Pernambuco, Minas Gerais, Brasilia, Mato Grosso, Bahia, Rondônia, and Santa Catarina. Yeah, that was definitely better than I thought. Where are they? Do I have to probably have to click on all games? Okay, let's see. Who do I remember definitively? Who am I the most confident in? Oh, so many of you have slipped. Regions? Is it regions or is it departments? Which one is the biggest one? The proper one? France metropolitan regions? Probably, yes. Uh, Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. Let's see. Either of these two is Grand Est. So I think no. Okay. Pays de la Loire should be that one. Grand Est is either that one or that one. Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes is there. Brittany, yes. Corsica, obviously. Nouvelle-Aquitaine, Ile-de-France, Occitanie, Centre-Val, Provence, Haute-de-France, and Normandy. Do I have any confidence in anybody else? In remembering anybody else that solidly? Probably not. I'm gonna have to refresh myself, re-practice. Uh, Deutschland, I might still know. States. Stop with the states and capitals. Where's just the states? There we go. Will you stop? Get out of my face. Baden-Württemberg is there. Mecklenburg, Berlin, North Rhine-Westphalia is uh, should be that one. Yes. Schleswig-Holstein, Brandenburg, Thuringia, Bremen. No, that's Hamburg. That's Bremen. Sachsen, Sachsen-Anhalt, and Niedersachsen. Okay. Niedersachsen, Sachsen-Anhalt, Saarland, stop scrolling down. Hessen, Bavaria, Hamburg, and Rhineland. Okay, I still remember. Now, Europe, Africa. Do I recall anybody? Probably South Africa. I'd come and load the app so I can click off them. Maybe that one. That's it. That's what I'm doing. Let's see. That one is that's KwaZulu Natal. That's Mpumalanga, I think. And that one is Limpopo, because that's where most of the mines are. Okay, so this should be Mpumalanga, or I might be mistaken then. Yes, I was right. Western Cape, Northwest. Oh no, that's Northern Cape. Northwest, Northern Cape, Free State, and that's Gauteng. Gauteng, KwaZulu Natal, Eastern Cape, and Limpopo, where all the platinum mines are, and the manganese mines, and the everything else mines, except for the chromium ones. The chromium is over here. And Asia. I should probably theoretically remember China. Stop. Sichuan is that one. Fujian is the one right across from Taiwan. Tibet. Okay. Let's see. Is it the Hunan and Hubei that are right next to Beijing, or is it the Hainan and Hebei? Ooh, I do not. Well, I get it wrong. I'll figure out which is which pretty fast. Uh, I think it's the A ones that are right next to Beijing, and the Hu ones that are down south. Okay, I was correct. So the one just south that should be Hunan. Hainan is the island. Guizhou is right here. Oh no, that's Guangxi. Then where's Guizhou? Yes, okay. Uh, Jiangsu is that Zhejiang? No, that's Zhejiang. That's Jiangsu. Which one's which? Which one came first? Jiangsu? Yes, okay. Liaoning, that's where a huge amount of the mines are. Guangdong, Shanxi is the inner one. Yes. Uh, Hainan, Ningxia, Shandong is this one. Jiangxi, Beijing, Heilongjiang, Macau city states, Yunnan over here, Hebei surrounds Beijing, Shanghai right there, Shanxi, Hubei, Xinjiang over there, Inner Mongolia, Jilin, Hong Kong, Chongqing, Qinghai, Guangxi is there. Tianjin, Zhejiang, Anhui, and Gansu. Okay, I did mostly remember. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure my knowledge of everyone else is going to have faded out by this point. Well, everybody really is off actually just hitting refresh on the election results. I actually kind of intended for this to be a filter of sorts. I was going to wait to see if anyone actually showed up and like said anything, in which case it's just going to do an insta ban. Okay, that is way too small. Also, there's hose on the screen. This one then, intermediate, because I'm not an expert, even though expert just makes the field bigger. That's all it really does. So okay, that does not help. Come on. All right, we're gonna have to gamble to get something to work with, just to start off. Hmm. Let's try another corner. Oh, nope, that didn't work. All right, reset. Can you give me anything to work with? Maybe. One, three, blah, 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 blah. Two. Hmm. What about in here? Okay, two. So that's somewhere there. The gambling at the start is the worst part. Always need something to work with. So it's there. Anybody else beyond that? Just another two. You're screwing with me. All right, come on. You got to give me something decent to run off of. Ooh, okay. Yeah, but I need some more information. It's only one, two. Okay, so can't be both of those because that would be, or that would also be a two if it was those two right there. So cannot be both, but that's not really enough to go off of. Hmm. We will just gamble it. All right. Now that actually manages something, so it has to be that one, which means it cannot be that one because that is touching the one. So two. Okay, so those two have to be it. And so one, and the one is touching either of these two. So it can, this one cannot also be one because then three would be more than a three. Two, so we know that one's that one. Four, so those are two. Off of that, four. Let's see. Ooh, yeah, I don't know if it's okay. Well, it can't. Both of those can't be, obviously. It's one, that's two, so that's coming from somewhere down there. We are going to have to gamble, probably, or wait. No, we got two contributing to that three, and that one is a two. It's connected, so that could only be one of those two, and it has to be one further down here because then that cranks up to a four. So, uh, decent chance that one might not be one, but that's a risk. Risk worth taking. Okay, so two, 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 three. All right, so we know then that that is not one. All right, that is easier to work with. It's running off four, so that's one, two, three, four. One, two, three. Then it has to be one of those two, obviously. And hmm. All right, we're going to have to gamble just a bit, I guess. Take something further down. Hmm. I'm thinking it's that one, but this is a risk. Risk worth it. Okay, so it is that one. If that is hitting off of those two to get that two, then that means neither of these is one. This one, that two, hitting off those two, that would make that one three if that actually was one, so it is not. So that works. Let's see. Two, two, two. They're all touching that one. And if they're all twos, then they have to be all contacting the same one. So it has to be the middle one coming off at an angle. So these two should be clear. Yes. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's see. That's one, and that is still one. So that has to be clear. That one's touching that one. So all these three have to be clear. Let's see, four. So those four, three, and the only other one that three is touching is this one. So it has to be those three, which would then be the same for this three, which means that one has to be clear. The only one that one can be touching is this one. So that means that these are all clear. There we go. Now we're finally going somewhere. Let's see, one. All right, so that one is definitely one. So is that. So three is connected to one of those two as well. Can't be this one because then that one would be a two. So that one has to be clear. Three, there we go. Okay, two, if it's on angle, so those two are each a mine. And this is the only other one that two could be connected to, so that one's a mine. And then if we go over here, let's see. So those are both a mine, and they're both connected to that one, which would be a three if this one was a mine. So that one cannot be a mine. Excellent. Okay, and if that one has to be a mine and is the only one that one is touching, which is why it's a one, then the rest of these have to be clear. See, there we go. And technically that one does as well. All right, so that's the one, and that means the rest of these have to be clear. Two, two, two. That one also. So that one has to be clear, as well as these. Diagonal to that one, which means that one has to be one. And they could not be touching any other one than that one, so these all have to be clear as well, including that one. All right, time to filter this out. If anybody's here, yeah, exactly. That's the point. The point is that it's not election coverage. I hear about it for 4 years out of every 4 years now. I'm going to use election night as like the one night where no one's actually going to say anything about it. Otherwise, they get permabanned. Let's see. So they can only be touching that one. Otherwise, that one would be a two. So these have to be clear. That one is guaranteed. That one's guaranteed. That one's guaranteed. So that one is free. That one is as well. That means that one has to be one, which means that that cannot be. And also that one cannot be. Two, two, let's see. Work off anything else. That one has to be clear. All right, so basically anything in that direction has to be clear, has to be clear. Okay, that works for a bit, but right there, yeah, that one has to be one, which means these two cannot be one. Neither can either of those. All right, now that's working better. Two off of this one, but that one cannot be Otherwise, that would be a 3, so that has to be clear. So that one has to be 1, which means that one is touching that one. This one cannot be. And thusly, these also cannot be. Neither can that one. All right, we are getting somewhere. Technically that one has to be clear as well. Okay, so those two are guaranteed as one. This one has to be clear. Let's see that. Yeah, that could still be the case there. That one actually has to be clear as well. So what does that leave us with? Those two. That one would be a 3 if that one was a mine. So that one has to be clear. That's one. So that one is a guaranteed one. And if the 4 from there, okay, that means all 4 of those are mines. 3 from that one, and which other ones? The 2 from there. These have to be clear. That one then has to be clear. Okay, all these have to be clear then. Okay, 2 from those two. 2 from these two, maybe. No, that one would be a 3. So that has. Oh, no, wait. Shit. Oh, I forgot. I forgot there was a space between that one and that one. John, we were so close. Political operative of what kind? CIA or foreign agency? Who you running with? Anything in here I need to pay? Oh, now people suddenly showed up. Interesting. That's weird. All right. Start off with the usual gamble. Well, that's more to work with than the usual gamble. That can only be those two. So that one has to be clear. Otherwise, that would be a 3. That can only be that one, which means all of these have to be clear. 1. That one has to be clear. So does that one. 2, 2, 2, 1. So that is one of them. Speed 1. All right, that has to be clear. So do these. 2. So it's that one. Okay. We got you. What about you? Those two. This one. Uh, might have to gamble to get some space. See, I'm not seeing anything to immediately narrow that down with, other than, yeah, these two are both, it's probably that one just because of the way the game usually lays things out, but still. All right, we're gonna have to take a gamble, and I always gamble the corners, just, of course. Well, I always gamble the corners just because. Let's see, one. So these cannot be. Neither can any of these. Neither can that or that. All right, that works out. So that one's there. Uh, and that one cannot be, which means these also cannot be. So it has to be that one. Okay, that's clear. And that also have to be clear, which means these, and therefore also these have to be clear. And technically that as well. All right, it has to be that one to get that diagonal. Neither of those are two'd, which means these have to be clear. Uh, okay, that's probably one. No way to be definitively positive, though. Uh, that is a mine, and all of these are one and connected to it, which means these cannot be mines. Okay. One there, so that's mine. Two, the only thing it can be for that is that's mine. And those two are mine. That is a two, but this is not a three, which means that is not a mine. Two, the only thing this can be is two for two. So those are there. One there, that's a mine, and that one makes the two, so that is clear. Three to make that three, so that's also clear. Two to make that two, so that's also clear. And that also has to be clear. If that's clear and that one's connected to that one has to be clear as well. So those two are mines. Three there, two there, that has to be a mine because the diagonal connection to the one, which means the two is made by these two, so that one has to be clear. And that three is made by these three, so all of these have to be clear. Okay, so two there, two, two, two. Hmm. That's going to be a bit difficult to sort. All right, twos run off everything. Right, if it's two in that one, then it's probably that one and not that one. I don't necessarily want to jump that risk just yet. That one has to be clear for the one to work. What about this one? Yep, which means these would all have to be clear as well. And thus, by proxy, these. And since those are all still one, that would mean these have to be clear. There we go. So with that one, maybe two. Ooh, that would be difficult to sort. But that's one. That's one. Oh, if the two's made by those two, then that one has to be clear. Okay, there we go. That worked. That worked nicely. That has to be clear. So does that. One, one, one. That has to be clear. So does that. There we go. That has to be clear. So that two from those two, which means that has to be clear. There we go. And that is clear. Or no, that's a mine. Those two make the three with that one, so that has to be clear. So does that. Which means the one can only be touching this, which means that has to be clear. And then the two can only be made from those two. So those two are definitively mines, which means the one is coming from this. So this has to be clear. And also, by default, these then. It is all simple math. Or puzzle math. So then that two is coming from those two, along with that two. But for those two from there, the one it really could be either of those two. There's no definitive way to tell. No, wait, actually, it has to be this one because if it was that one would be a three. So the mine has to be there, which means this has to be clear. And if those two are both mines, making that two, then these have to be clear. Let's see. Three from these. We know that's a mine. We know that's a mine. So these, that one means this is a mine, and that one is clear. Wait, no. Ah, damn it. Well, almost. Po Political director, like, okay, that could mean a lot of things at a lot of different levels or a lot of scales. All right, let's run it again. Let's see. One, so those have to be clear. That one, and thus those have to be clear as well. So one, that has to be clear. For that one, so do these. So would this. All right, there we go. Now getting some stress. That has to be clear. And then by default, so do these. That, what? Oh, it was connected to that one. Darn, I was starting to think too much about responding to people talking in chat now that there's actually people here. Thank you, Minesweeper. That is a really helpful start. All right, what about this corner? That is not better. What about this one? Stop giving me flat surfaces. There we go. That's something to work with. Uh, that has to be clear. So by default, do all of those. That has to be clear. The one is made from this, so that has to be clear. Oh, that is a nice one. All right, this is easy. Let's see, that has to be clear. So with that, let's see, two, three. The only ones that can touch. All right, so those have to be. All three of those are mines, which means that this one has to be clear, and so does this one. 111, then touching here, so that has to be clear. Let's see, that one's touching those, so these three have to be clear. And let's see, it's probably this one. I can't be entirely certain yet. One, that one has to be clear. Then by default, these are clear around it. Two from touching those two. The one is touching that one, which means that has to be clear. One, one. Two is only touching those two, so those two are definitively mines. So the three is made from contact with those two, and either this one or this one. Let's narrow things down by here then. That has to be clear, so does that. We know that's mine, and these two are connected to that two, so that two is also connected to them, so these have to be clear. One, one, that has to be clear. Two is only connected to those two, so that's a mine, and if that's touching the one, that means these have to be clear. The one is touching this one, and these two, so then by default, these have to be clear as well. Two is touching those, and all of these are made by this one. And that one has to be a mine because it's connected to the one. And all three of these twos are being made by, or at least these two twos are being made by contact with that one and this one. So this one has to be clear. And if that one is only connected to this one, then that means these have to be clear. Two is connected. Just connected there. One, one. Ooh, which one? Which one is it? Which one would it be? Let me do something simpler for the moment. Two. This one can only be made two by these two. Then this one has to be them as well, so that has to be clear. We know those two are ones. That three's there. This two can only be made two by these two, by touching those two, and these ones only by touching these two. So both those two are mines, which means this has to be clear. So does that. Ooh, that's those two. Make that one by two from those two, which means nothing else the two is touching can be a mine. Ooh, one. No, wait, the one's connected to that one, so that's a mine, so that one's clear. Okay, and then those two are two, so that one has to be clear. There we go. All right, now for the remaining difficulty. How do we work this? Oh, we also have to deal with this up here. That's one. All right, that can only be two from that one. So then that has to be clear. So does that. One. That one's also one, so that has to be clear. And the only thing that can make this three is these three right here. So also shared with the other three. So these have to be clear. All right, we solved that problem. But now back to the less easy ones. So let's see, those three, or those two, make that three. One, two, let's see. Well, that 2 could only be made from contact with 2 here, and this 3 can only be made by contact with 3 here. And then this 3 can only thus be contact with these 3 here. And this 3, so would be touching these 2 here, and it would have to be one of these other ones making that 3. So had to be one of these to make that 3, and it's probably one of these 2 to then finalize that 3, since that 3 is in contact with these. So this is probably clear, but we're at the gambling part now. So I'm going to mark that as probably clear. I want to come back up here, see if we can do this. All right, so that 2 can only be made from these. We know that this is clear, or sorry, that this is a mine. That one cannot be a mine. All right, so this one, that 3 can only be made from these 3. And that 2 would be touching those. Oh, no, wait. I see what you're doing, game. You almost got me. Oh, oh, as in actually like directing coverage stuff. Okay. Yeah, I do apologize for like the lack of stuff recently. Putting together the solar power math video took a while. And also resulted in one of the greatest lack of listening and reading comprehensions I've ever seen from an audience. Literally, like I say exact explicit stuff, and then people in the comments like come and ask uh, for me to like ask why didn't I say this exact explicit stuff, and I'm just like I did. You obviously you didn't actually listen or pay attention to anything. So okay, those two definitively. Then this 2 could only be made by these 2. Okay, so it has to be those 2. The three would be a 4 if that was a mine, so that has to be clear. Let's see. So those 2 make that 2. That has to be clear. That is a mine, as is that. That 3 is made from those 3. That 2 is made from those 2, so that one has to be clear. That one has to be clear because of that literal number 1 right up there. That 2 can only be made by those 2. So that one has to be a mine. That one has to be a mine. And that is a 3, so one of those 2 is a mine. Is there a way to narrow that down any further? Uh, Darn, I don't think so. Oh, no, wait. That 2 can only be made from those 2. So those 2 have to be mines. And the 3 contacting something along this axis. And okay, it has to be that one that's a mine. Because otherwise these ones would not work out this way. So that has to be clear. No, damn it. All right, yeah, I miscalculated the arrangement of things, how it could potentially like set things up. Darn, so close. I beat one game though. Let's see. Okay, that is, praise God, that is a fantastic start off. That has to be clear, so does that. By default, that has to be clear. That can only be made by those 2, which means, all right, so that's one. Okay, no, that's a array of any of those 3 that makes that 2 there. All right, start with something else then. Those 2 make that 2 and that 2. That cannot be 1 because then that would be a 3. So then those 2 are mines definitely to make that 3. So none of these can be a mine. Then that's 2. That's 1. That cannot be a mine. 2. That 2. That has to be a mine. So, and these 2 are touching that one and that one, which is mine, which means that has to be clear. There we go. Touching that one is this guaranteed mine, which means that has to be clear. All right, now by default, these have to be clear if that's also a 1. Okay, let's see. These have to be clear, and then so do those. That one has to be clear. That's 2. That's guaranteed to be a mine. That's guaranteed to be a mine. So the 3 has to be getting made by that one. And those can only make that 2, which means that has to be a mine as well. So these 4 are mines. And the 1 is also touching that, so that has to be clear. That one is touching that, which means these have to be clear as well. That one's touching that one. That has to be clear. That 2 is made by these right here, and this 2 is also in contact with that one, and it's not a 3, so that one has to be clear. Uh, Wait, that 2 is then made by those 2. Okay, so this actually also has to be clear, and so do these. That one is touching this one, which is a guaranteed mine, but also this, which means that has to be clear. So does that. These 2 are mines and are touching this 2 as well as this 2. So these 3 have to be clear. Let's see. 1 made by that one, so that has to be clear. That is definitely a mine, which means this has to be clear. That is a guaranteed mine. That is a guaranteed mine. So it's this one or this one. Wait, no, it has to be that one because if it was both, then that would be a 3. So that has to be clear. Could we filter out from that at all? Maybe. Don't think so. Not right from that position. That one is contacting that one, which means these have to be clear. That's a mine. That's a mine. Those are making the 2, so that has to be clear. Touching that one, so that has to be clear. Those have to be clear then as well. Let's see, that's guaranteed mine and is touching this one, so anything that one touches has to be clear. Same with that one. This 2 can only be made then by these 2, and that one is touching this one, so these have to be clear. 2. That's made by these 2. If that was a mine, then that would be a 3, so that has to be clear. And is touching that guaranteed mine, which means these are clear. Same deal with this. All right, that's made by these. That is made by these, which means this has to be clear. Touching those, which are guaranteed mines. And who else? That 2 is touching those and that, but is not a 3, so that means that is clear. All right, 1. That's guaranteed mine. 2, 1. That is a guaranteed mine because of the 2 in the middle there, which means that has to be clear. And that 2 makes those 2 mines. That one is a mine. The 3 is touching those 3, so these 3 have to be... Wait. Oh, no. No. Almost. I got too confident. Too confident. Don't worry, I'll be ending this soon for anyone who is for some reason actually listening to this after the fact. Uh, nope, I need corners. I need corners. I need corners to work with. There we go. Thank you. That has to be clear. That has to be clear. All right, those are all touching that. That can only be made by those, which means these have to be clear. And that's touching that one, so these have to be clear. Okay, that's guaranteed mine. Those 2 are guaranteed mines. So what the? There we go. Thank you. Let's see. So those 3, that 2 is... That was touch these. So if that was a mine, that would be a 3. There we go. All right, and that one is... Those are all touching that one, so anything else this one touches has to be clear. 1, 1. Same here. 1 there. 2 can only be made by those. That 2 is connected to both those, so these have to be clear as well. And if that 1 is connected to this one, then these 2 things have to be clear. All right, so these 3 are mines. Then that 2 is made by touching those 2, so these have to be clear. All right, so that one is a guaranteed mine. The one is touching that one and that one, which means that one has to be clear. All right, that's a mine. Mine. And this 3 can only be made by that one also being a mine. And this 3 is also connected to those 3, which means these 3 should be clear. Click. Thank you. 1, but is touching this guaranteed mine, which means these have to be clear. 1 touching that guaranteed mine, which means that has to be clear. 2, 2. All right, those guaranteed mines. This 2 is touching those 2, yet is not a 3, so these have to be clear. And that's a guaranteed mine. That is a guaranteed mine. 2 by connecting those 2, which means these have to be clear. 1, 1, but still 1, so that's clear. 1 from this one, and then this one is touching that one, so these have to be clear. Ooh, getting dangerous. 2 from that. That one is touching that one, so these have to be clear. Getting risky. Okay, so that's mine. Obviously, that 2 is connected to that one and that one. This one is also a 2 by connecting to this one. So that means that cannot be a mine. Excellent. Okay. Now we are really succeeding here. Ooh, okay, so that's a mine, and that is a mine. This cannot be a mine because of this 2 connecting to that and that. All right, we got it. So that's 4 from there, and this 4, these 2 are guaranteed mines. This 3 can only be made by that being a mine, and this 3 can only be made by that being a mine. So those 2 are mines. That is a mine. That is a mine. So that has to be clear. 6. I have never seen a 6. Okay, so all of these. No, wait. That's 7 pieces. All right, one of these is actually clear. Those 4 are mines. 1, all touching these. This one here. So that means this has to be clear, and so does that. Ooh, okay. Let's try over here. Let's clear this out first. 1, 2. That can only be made by touching those 2. That can only be a 2 if those 2 are both mines. That can only be a 3 if all 3 of those are mines. So, uh, ooh, can we work with that? So that's 3, and that's a 2, which means that cannot be a mine because otherwise that 2 would be a 3. All right, so that's guaranteed mine. 2, any of these or either of these 2 twos has to be working off of this one. It's 1, 1, 1. Ooh, it is probably that one, but there's still a chance. Something else. Oh, we're getting in to a difficult one here. All right, so one of all 3 of those are mines. It's this one. This one's clear because that one's touching this, this, and this. It has to be this one. Yes, we did it. All right. So, uh, that one, that's those mines, and that 2 is connected, is touching this, but is not a 3, so that has to be clear. That 1 is touching that, but is not a 2, so that has to be clear. All right, we can narrow this down. That has to be clear, so do these. So then with those, 2, 2, Uh, so we know those are one. Those are touching that, and that is still a one, so that has to be clear. All right, that three can only be a three if all three of those are mines. So, okay, that area is sorted out. That one is touching this, which is a mine, but is not a two, so that has to be clear. Those two are the mines, and thus these have to be clear. So with these, that two can only be made if those two are mines, and that one is connected to that one, so that cannot be a mine. All right, so that is a guaranteed mine. That is a guaranteed mine. This two is made by those two, but touching these two, so these two can't be mines. That two is made by these. So that one is touching this guaranteed mine, which means that has to be clear. That two can only be made by these, yet this one is not a two, so that has to be clear. And so do these. Uh, let's see, those two and that two is touching those two, so these two can't be mines. All right. Let's see, so all these are connected to those. Two, two, that three, all three of those have to be, three is connected to that one, and that one. All right, we know those two and that one are mines, so that three, so neither of these can be a mine. All right, we're doing it. That two is only connected to these two things, and this one is touching that one, but is not a two, so these have to be clear. And all three of those are, no, they're not. Okay, so the four is touching those two and these two, which means this three is also touching that one. This has to be clear. Yes. And if it's touching that one, but also these ones, and we know that one's a mine, these have to be clear. All right. So we know all three of those are mines. Those two, though, that three can only be made by these three. And this one is a two touching those two that we then know are mines. So that has to be clear. That has to be clear. And that has to be clear. Yes, we finally beat one. Actually, this is the second one we've beaten. Nobody else. Yeah, everybody's gone again. Everybody's on the Google election results page hitting refresh. Yeah, I'll go another 10 minutes. I would have done longer if anybody actually showed up, but not even Josh is here. He's been sick, but he says he's better. I think he's dead. Can I get anything to work with? That has to be clear. Let's see. That has to be clear. Then by default, these have to be. So does that. That one's touched that one, so these have to be clear. And we know those are both mines, and so wait, those are both mines. That's a two, but it's touching that, so that has to be clear. So is it threes made by those two plus one of these? One of these, and this two is thus made by one of those and this, but is touching these, so these should be clear. All right, the one is touching that, so that has to be clear. So does that. The one's touching that one, so that has to be clear. This two can only be made by these two, and that one's touching that one, so these then have to be clear. That one has to be a mine, and that one would then have to be clear for that to work. Can we roll with anything else? Uh, is there any way else to work within this? Wait, yes, that two can only be made by those two, which are touching that number two, so these have to be clear. And that one's touching this guaranteed mine, which means these have to be clear. That two is touching these guaranteed mines, which means that has to be clear. That two is touching these guaranteed minds, which means this has to be clear. Okay. So those two. Mm, that two is made by, we know that's mine and that's mine. That two is touching those, which means these all have to be clear. Yes, there we go. One, so that's guaranteed mine, that's guaranteed mine. That two is touching both of these, but this one has to be clear. It's touching both of those, or it's touching that. So these all have to be clear by proxy. That is a guaranteed mine because of this connection here. And the one is touching this, but is not a two. This one is touching this, but is not a two. Right? And that one is touching that mine, but is somehow not a two. So these have to be clear as well. All right, that one's just that. That has to be clear. These two are both mines, but this two is not a three, so that has to be clear. Now, so do those. The one there, yet these are still ones, so these have to be clear. And they're still touching that and are still ones, so thus these have to be clear. Ooh. We know that this one is touching both of these squares. That square is mine, so that square has to be clear. And these twos can only be made by these two. So these, this or this at least has to be clear. Now that has to be clear. Now this has to be clear. There we go. One, and that one's a one. So that. So these technically have to be clear. And then by default, these would be as well. All right, we know that's two, three. All right, so we know it's those three. So wait, hold on. Oh no, there was no guarantee that it was that one. All right, one more. You feel the same? I have no idea what you said that in response to. Either because of both a potential like delay in the stream and also I'm not in a state of mind where I'm like remembering what I said 30 seconds ago. Uh, Come on, give me something to work with. No, I need corners. I need corners, not flat surfaces. All right, I need a corner to work with, so we're gonna have to gamble. This one. This one? Give me a corner. Come on. Give me some kind of corner. There we go. Okay. Now we can do math. So that's two. That two has to be made by these two, and that two is also touching those two, so that has to be clear. Then that two can only be made by these two, and that two is touching those two, so these three have to be clear. That one and that, all right, those two are mines, and the two is also touching that one, so that has to be clear. So with that, that one is in contact with that, which means these two must be clear. And sorry, we know those two and this one are definitively mines. Uh, it's one of these three. All right, we know this one is a mine because of this connection right here, and we know these three mines, so that makes four. So these two should be clear. All right, and so should these three because of the connection to that one. Two. All right, so that one's a mine. And this one is touching that mine, which means that one has to be clear. So, right, so those two are mines. That one's touching this one, which is mine, which means that one is clear. And so is that one, so that one also has to be clear. That one is guaranteed mine. This three can only be made by those three being mines. And that three is touching these two plus this one, which means that one should be clear. And that two is touching these two mines, which means these things around the two should be clear. Okay, we got a five. We had a six earlier. I don't know if whoever's here right now was here to see the six, but we actually had a six. So that two is made by these two, which means these have to be clear. So with these, Touching that guaranteed mine, but that's still a 1, so that has to be clear. This 2 is made by these 2 mines, and this 2 is also touching those 2 mines, yet is not a 3, so that has to be clear. That has to be clear. Those then have to be clear. 3 made by these, so these 2 have to be mines and are making this 2 and that 2, so these have to be clear. 1, 1, so that has to be clear. 2, 1 is touching that one, but that one has to be clear, that one has to be clear, that one has to be clear. 2 made by connecting these 2 right here, and this 2 can only be made by these 2 being mines, and that 2 is connected to them, so that one has to be clear. That one's connected to that mine, so these have to be clear, and that one is connected to that mine, so these have to be clear, and now, thus, by proxy, those. That one's connected to this one, which means this has to be clear. What can we do with this? That 2 has to be made by those 2 being mines. I think we already went through this, but I couldn't get any further. Let's work up. So these 2 are mines and are making this 2 right here. That one has to be clear. This 3 can only be made by these 3 right here, which means touching that 1, that has to be clear. So those 2 are part of this 3. And then either of these 2 has to be 1 to make that 3. That one's connected to that, and these, so that has to be clear. Now, so do these. And now, by proxy, so do these. 3, okay, so that has to be those. This 3 is made by those. That 3 is made by these. So 5 is made by those 4 and that one. So, and that 4 is made by this and these 3 by contact. So then, yeah, that's the only way to make that 4. So that has to be a mine and it's touching that 1. So that square has to be clear. And so those 2 lines. So those 3 then contribute to that 4. Oh man, I don't think I can work into that. Not safely. Let me think. You think for a moment. Yeah, let's distract myself, something else. So that had those 2 have to be mines. That one's touch that one. That 2 is touching these. It has to be one of these 2, and that 2 is touching those 2, which means that it cannot be anything around here. So these have to be clear. All right. Time to get problematic. It's those 2, both mines. We know that. Uh, no. How do I deal with this one? Those 3. No, wait. Yeah, those 3, and that one. Okay, that 3 is made by these 3 right here, so that has to be clear. Then these have to be clear. Okay, now we can progress. And we know those 3 are, and that's a 3 despite connecting to the rest of these, so these should be clear. And that 2 can only be made by these or that one. Ooh. We know these 3 are mines. That 2 is connected to that. So it can't be that one? Yes. All right. All right, we're doing it. 3 there, 2 there, 1, 2. Oh, but is this helping with the other situation, though? Wait, it is, yes, because that's a mine, but it's connected to that one, so nothing else that one is touching can be a mine. Then that one is connected to that one, so these have to be clear. All right. That one is a mine. We know that. What about this one? Is there any way to narrow this down to uh this is definitely this is definitely one of the more intense ones I've had. There's a fair chance, by chance, that the middle is clear. So I might just take that gamble in a second. But I want to see if my brain can actually handle this first. If there is a way to actually figure through this. So that for connected these, we know those three are fair chance that one is these. That those two are made by connection with that one, and maybe this one. Wait, no, that one's all right. The only way it could work with that one and that two is if it's that one. So yes, all right, we got it. We found our way in. All right, so it has to be that one, which means that one has to be clear. Now, so do these. Okay, so those two are mines then, which means it's that one and that one to make that two. So that should be clear. And the only way to make that four is with these right here. So this has to be clear. We did it. The last one for the stream, and we succeeded. Nothing else and no clarity as to whatever that was about. Oh, because the stream stopped. No, it didn't stop. Or I guess it stopped on YouTube's end. All right, then. That's where I'm going to stop this one. For anybody who actually wanted to go back to like the older stuff with the geography like quizzes and stuff I used to do, then obviously there was some of that in the first half. And Minesweeper was specifically because I always promised that I would play Minesweeper on stream a number of times, like 3 or 4 years ago. So now there you go. I finally did that. And I mean, I could maybe stream Minecraft, but I don't know if my laptop would be able to handle running that and streaming at the same time. And also having this up, like actually watching my own stream to like monitor stuff, it probably would not be able to take it. So Minesweeper is like the most hardcore gaming that you'll probably ever be able to get. But that's going to be it then for this. So you're free to go back to wasting away hours of your life staring at a search result of US elections on Google and just constantly refreshing the page as if that somehow like changes the outcome of things. But I'm going to